Hello everyone. So with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X right around the corner, I wanted to take the time and film this video basically just to reminisce about all the amazing gaming moments and games that came out on the PS4 and Xbox One generation of consoles. They were a lot of games that I absolutely loved and I know I'm gonna cherish, and I can't wait for rematches for them just to relive them with better graphics or just on the new systems that I'm gonna get. So without further ado, these are my top 10, just my personal most favorite games that came out from this last generation of consoles. So starting off at number 10, we have Horizon Zero Dawn. This was a game that did really surprise me about how expansive the world was and just how cool everything was. The gameplay was amazing. The combat's awesome, especially at the end when you get the power armor, you're just unstoppable. And I found that to be so much fun, but it had really good level design. And even with the side missions, just there was so much of a toss up. It never felt like an RPG or an open world game where the quests and missions felt the same. There was just so much new and it was breathtaking. I love the big robots and creatures that you'd have to fight. So all the fights were really difficult too, especially like before you got the power armor, and just the weapons were so cool. Music was amazing, and just finding out so much about the world and how it came to be as it is, how even though like they're extremely technologically advanced, how they're so primal in their ways. And I love the story, and it's just a game that I know I'm gonna think back to for such a long time. It really was so impactful for me to see how amazing it was, and I can't wait to play the sequel when that comes out. This was a superhero defining game for me. I love so much taking on the approach of Peter Parker as a little bit older, a lot more matured and experienced in the role. I do really like that, skipping some of the backstory and you're into the powers. And like I have to say, some of the abilities you can have in this game are absolutely amazing. And it just made the combat so much fun. I've never had so much fun swinging around New York City before. Even in all the old games, it just felt so organic and real. And I love seeing the ripples on Spider-Man suits as you're going by. Just how many suits you can collect in this game too. I 100%ed this one. I got the platinum trophy on my PlayStation because I was just so happy and excited playing it. Everything down from the villains to the fights. Like Doc Ock had such a good branch, and it was amazing for Peter Parker in this experience. And it was just kind of one of those definitive Spider-Man stories that I think needs to be told. Probably my favorite Spider-Man Peter Parker that's been put in a video game or even movies and TV. I have to say, this was just a hit out of the park game for me in terms of superhero games, and I can't wait for the Miles Morales game, and I can't wait for more Spider-Man from Insomniac. So when news got out that Hideo Kojima was getting his own studio and the announcement of Death Stranding, I was excited from this case from day one. I love Hideo Kojima's storytelling style, and the gameplay in this game, just from the start of you basically being your Amazon FedEx delivery man to what it grows to be in terms of just the gameplay and the story. Unbelievable. Just the storylines, the redemption arcs, Matt Mikkelsen's character, the ending of this game, the setup for sequels. It's just absolutely amazing. I love the lore of the lands, the BTs, just all the characters were so developed and so well written, and the dialogue's amazing. And like I said, just the way the combat grows too was fantastic. It's beautiful. I've been looking at getting this game on PC to replay it, and just it looks like a picture. There's went to Iceland a few years ago, and it just looks exactly like that. So graphically, this was an achievement, but this is a game that just blew me away in so many things. And just like I said, the way that it just kept evolving in the game in terms of its combat and story is something truly impressive. And yeah, I can't wait for more Death Stranding down the line. So of course, I love the Star Wars Battlefront shooting of people playing as a bunch of different characters from the timeline, but I love that they took the risk of creating all these new characters and bringing them into this really cool world with really good gameplay styles. It was everything I love from like your classic kind of like hack and slash games to mixing elements of Uncharted and just a whole bunch of adventure games that I thought was absolutely amazing. The combat was so slick and it felt so good, and it was a challenge. Like I said, a lot of people pointed out too that stormtroopers were a challenge for Cal Kestis. but he's been hiding his Jedi powers. He's been on the run for so long. And like I said, I love the story of this game and just the way that he grew not only his strength, but his character. Cal in the game was absolutely amazing. I love being able to customize the lightsaber. It added kind of that little flair of you, the player, into the game. And I thought it was great. The music was unbelievable. And yeah, I want a sequel to this game as soon as possible because it was just fantastic. And it was a single player experience that I think so much of us have been longing for in Star Wars video games for a long time, and this delivered on that front on all forms. It was just absolutely amazing. This is another game right from day one when they announced it. I was so excited for, and oh my goodness, did it ever deliver. Everything from all the variety of side missions and just how beautiful the landscapes of Japan was to one of the most impressive combat systems in a video game I've ever played before. I loved swapping your stances on the fly for a variety of enemies that are coming at you at a different time. It was just absolutely fantastic on the combat fronts. I loved being able to pick your horse, and it really got you to just like how much it nailed into the emotion and all of the stakes of the situation that Jin Sakai was fighting through. It was so rich in culture, and I loved how that blended into the story. Best side missions in a video game. All the story side missions are just so well written and so cinematic, and just the grand scale of the story is something that I think so many people need to experience on top of the combat. It's just absolutely amazing. Plus the co-op mode that they have now is so good as well, and I just, like I said, I can't wait for more of this game from Sucker Punch because it was just so impressive and amazing. And yeah, props to Ghost of Tsushima. This was a fantastic game. So now at the halfway point, as you saw, Uncharted 4 Thief's End. This was fantastic. I loved the whole character growth between Drake and Elena in this game. Of course, like there's a big epic adventure that goes on with some of my favorite missions from Uncharted, especially the clock tower sequence and gripping onto the cars and then sliding behind them as you're shooting guys was just fantastic. But I love the story and even just like the really human elements of the relationships between Drake and Sully and Sam and Drake, Elena coming into the picture once again, and just the whole relationship with them was just so well written and human and full of things that just made me feel so much for these characters, and never wanted to see them get a single scratch on them because it was just so real and amazing. And Naughty Dog just did an amazing job with this entire series, creating some of the best written video game characters of all time. And like, I can't just say anymore about how fantastic this game was. Amazing puzzles and level design and a really good multiplayer too. Just a fantastic game that I think everyone needs to play. The Uncharted series, these games are unbelievable, and it's a saga that you should never ever miss out on. It's fantastic. So I had the choice between Doom Eternal and Doom for this one, but I went with the original 2016 version of Doom just because of how it really set the stage for what old school first-person shooter game should be like. Even I could see Wolfenstein 2 really took inspiration from just how crazy all these old school games had to be. This just really set a standard for me in terms of music, level design, combat, weapons, just the variety of all of that, enemy types. It was just such a fantastic game, and I was so excited at points where I had to stop playing because like my hands were shaking. I was so happy playing it. Doom was one of the first games I ever played, and just Doom Eternal was absolutely fantastic, an amazing game, but it never hit me as hard as the original, or I should say the 2016 version of Doom did, just coming back with probably the most impressive reboots that ever has been done and maybe ever will be done, because it was just nailed on everything that it needed to be, and I loved it so much, and I still go back to this day and replay the campaign a lot. So from the second I put the controller down after finishing the first Red Dead Redemption, I wanted the second one immediately. And oh man, was this game just ever so immersive and realistic in so many things that it did as well. I still have PTSD from taking my horses into the trees and Just little things like that that are going to stick with me for a long time. And really what puts this game on top of it for me was the mission design, especially near the end of the game, and just how amazing all the characters were written. Just going back and really establishing the trauma that John was facing in the first game when it came to hunting down Dutch and a lot of these old gang members was just how much it hurt Arthur to see them change and lose everything that they had. Arthur Morgan is, and it will probably always be, one of my favorite video game characters of all time. I just thought he was a fantastically written character, and it added so much depth to these characters that you didn't really get too much history from the first game. And yeah, just absolutely fantastically written. So much variety, so much to explore. I love the landscapes and just moving your camps. It's one of the most expansive and alive video game worlds I've ever played. And this is a game that, again, these top 3, and or actually you can say top 10, are all games that I think everyone should play. But Red Dead Redemption 2, just absolutely fantastic and flawless in so many ways. This was such a tough decision for me to make between number 2 and number 1, but I'll get into the reason why when I reveal number 1. But you all know how big of a fan I am of God of War. You can see my Kratos right here. Jeez. I've always been a huge God of War fan. The saga has been one of my favorites forever, and just seeing how they were able to take such an angry character and really humanize him and have him learn through Atreus, through a new world of mythology, was just so absolutely fantastic. I remember seeing the gameplay for the first time and being a little, I don't want to say sketched out, but it was different, and actually getting my hands on it and playing the game so smooth that I can't imagine playing God of War in any other way in the future, just because of how perfect the combat system was, and upgrading your weapons and armor with runes, and having Atreus right there by your side, chaining combos together and taking down all these amazing creatures and gods from Norse mythology was absolutely amazing. The world and story that it's setting up for the future is going to be absolutely unbelievable. I love the whole concept of finding Tyr's travel rune, and just, like I said, how that sets up the future of God of War into so many different realms of mythology that we could very well see in the next game with Valhalla. The PS5 is just way too expensive for my blood, but I've still, every single day, I'm considering just dropping all the money so I can have it. And I cannot wait for Ragnarok to come out, just because of just the impression that this game left on me. Just flawless and fantastic in every single thing that it did. Unbelievable. The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt is just one of those games that is going to stick with me absolutely forever, not just because of how amazing the game was, but CD Projekt Red just really put their foot in the ground and said, we are one of the best video game studios out there, with how much they care about the players, especially with the 2 DLCs, especially Blood and Wine, being better than most video games that came out that year, like full-scale video games. DLC did that because it was so long and expansive, and there's so much in there. And just in the base game, there's so much story, so many side quests, so many things to do, amazingly written characters. I love the boss fights and the huge creatures you'd have to fight. It was so expansive. I hardly encountered any bugs in this game. I think the most that I ever got was maybe a flying torch, and I think Roach once spawned in the air when I called them. Like, little things like that just made the experience of this game so amazing for me. The dialogue is absolutely amazing. I put so many hours into this game, 100% completing it on my PlayStation, and just redoing the story in so many different ways just to see how different scenarios could play out. Like I said, it's an experience that's going to stick with me for absolutely forever. I will play this game probably forever, and I really hope this isn't the last of The Witcher that we get, because I want to play more so much, even like seeing what Ciri gets up to, what all these characters do, because just, I would give this game a million chest kisses as I could. Just unmissable experience that everyone needs to experience. Unbelievable. So good. So in the comments, please let me know what your guys' favorite game or your top 10 list would be from this last generation of consoles. What games do you think everyone should play, not miss out on, and play before the new consoles come out, which gives you about like 2-3 days here to do. But if you like this video, of course, give it a thumbs up, and you can check out all my other videos, video game playthroughs and whatnot through my Twitch, or of course through my playlist down below on YouTube. And if you like what you see here, of course, you can subscribe and turn the little ringer on if you want to know when I upload new videos. But yeah, again, let me know what you guys think about the list and what also you just think about for yourselves, because I love finding new video games and playing through them. It's a passion of mine and I love it so much. So yeah, of course, do that, and just awesome, guys.